100 simple animal quiz, question and answer. Which animal give us milk? Cow. Which animal has trunk? Elephant. Which animal say move? Cow. Which animal say meow? Cat. Which animal is known as man's best friend? Dog. Which animal hop and has long ear? Which animal swim and say quack? Duck. Which animal is a king of jungle? Lion. Which animal bark? Dog. Which animal give us wool? Sheep. Which insect make honey? Honeybee. Which animal has a long neck? Giraffe. Which animal lives in water and breathes through gill? Fish. Which animal lives in kennel? Dog. Which animal has black and white stripes? Zebra. Which animal is very slow and has a shell? Turtle. Which animal climb tree and eat banana? Monkey. Which animal says nee? Horse. Which bird cannot fly but run fast? Ostrich. Which animal has a hump? Camel. Which animal gives us eggs? Hen. Which sea animal has 8 arms? Octopus. Which animal howls at night? Wolf. Which animal loves eating bamboo? Panda. Which animal is the biggest in the ocean? Blue whale. Which animal is pink and say oink? Pig. Which animal carries its baby in a pouch? Kangaroo. Which bird say cow, cow? Crow. Which animal lives in the Arctic and is white? Polar bear. Which animal can change its color? Chameleon. Which bird can talk? Parrot. Which animal lives underground and is small and brown? Mole. Which animal has a big shell and moves slowly? Snail. Which animal swings from tree? Monkey. Which animal has sharp quill? Porcupine. Which reptile crawls and has cells? Lizard. Which animal hibernates in winter? Bear. Which bird wakes us up by singing? Rooster. Which animal is known for spraying a bad smell? Skunk. Which animal has a mane? Lion. Which insect has colorful wings? Butterfly. Which animal lives in a burrow and eats carrot? Rabbit. Which sea animal has a hard shell and claws? Crab. Which animal can fly at night? Bat. Which animal has sharp teeth and swim fast? Shark. Which animal say ba ba? Sheep. Which tiny insect can bite and make a buzzing sound? Mosquito. Which animal has whisker and loves milk? Cat. Which animal has a long bushy tail? Fox. Which sea creature has a string's tail? Stingray. Which animal can stand on two legs and love honey? Bear. Which animal has very long tusks? Elephant. Which animal is the fastest on land? Cheetahs. Which bird lives in cold places and cannot fly? Penguin. Which animal carries its home on its back? Snail. Which insect has 6 legs and can lift heavy things? Ant. Which animal has big antlers? Deer. Which sea animal is known as the king of the ocean? Shark. Which animal has black spot on yellow fur? Leopard. Which bird has a beautiful colorful tail? Peacock. Which animal sneezes and runs fast? Horse. Which animal has a long sticky tongue? Frog. Which animal sleeps during the day and awake at night? Owl. Which animal has big horn and gives milk? Goat. Which animal has sharp crown and lives in the forest? Tiger. Which sea creature looks like a star? Starfish. Which animal is green and croaks? Frog. Which insect glow at night? Firefly. Which animal can slither on the ground? Snake. Which animal lives in the desert and stores water? Camel. Which animal is known for climbing walls? Gecko. Which pet animal loves to wag its tail? Dog. Which animal has a horn on its nose? Rhinoceros. Which bird is white and swims? Swan. Which sea creature has very long arms? Squid. Which animal gives us butter and cheese? Cow. Which animal has stripes and looks like a horse? Zebra. Which bird can fly very high? Eagle. Which animal lives in a jungle and has a loud roar? Lion. Which animal rolls into a ball when scared? Hedgehog. Which animal is the tallest? Giraffe. Which animal say quack quack? Duck. Which insect had a red body with black spot? Ladybug. Which sea animal jumps and plays in water? Dolphin. Which farm animal say quack quack? Hen. Which animal has a long tail and loves cheese? Mouse. Which animal looks like a big cat and has spot? Cheetahs. Which animal has a pouch on its belly? Kangaroo. Which bird builds its nest in the houses? Sparrow. Which animal like to swing from vine? Monkey. Which animal has thick fur and lives in cold places? Polar bear. Which animal is known for being friendly and playful in water? Dolphin. Which animal has long ears and run fast? Hare. Rabbit. Which animal has a shell and crawl on the beach? Turtle. Which sea creature has a soft body and floats? Jellyfish. Which bird hoards? Owl. Which animal has a big bushy tail and climbs tree? Squirrel. Which farm animal gives us milk called mutton? Sheep. Which insect has a long body and many legs? Centipede. Which animal is known as a sheep of the desert? Camel. Thanks for watching. See you in next video. Bye bye.